welcome councillors and welcome Sarah and Dermot and Lisa to our Civic Heritage and Events pre-discussion decision consultation meeting. Lisa, can I go for apologies for absence, please?
Actually, Councillor Roth, I'm clerking this. Lisa is leaving now. Yep. Okay. So I've had apologies from Councillor Warren Howells, Councillor Richard Voss and Councillor Chris Wall.
Thank you. Do I have any declarations of interest on items on the agenda? Councillor Alcock.
Thank you. Yes, could I declare an interest in item the Christmas item 7, please, as I sit on the Christmas Lights Committee as a volunteer.
And in fact, so do I, although I haven't been to the last couple of meetings. Councillor Taylor.
I would also like to declare an interest on 8.6 as I'm a member of the Market Forum, current chairman of the Market Forum.
And I also ought to say that I am a new member of the Market Forum. Okay. Thank you. To receive written requests for dispensation for disclosable pecuniary interests, if any. I don't think there are any. Thank you. To grant any requests for dispensation as appropriate. There aren't any. Town Clerk, do we have any members of the public? We don't, that you are aware of. Thank you. So item 6, to approve the draft open minutes of the meetings of the Civic Heritage and Events Committee held on the 20th of July, which I was absent for as I was otherwise engaged. Can I have approval, please, from the committee? And are we quorate, Sarah, in that? We are. Thank you. Any comments on the approval? No. Okay, thank you. To approve the draft open notes of the website, social media and newsletter subgroup held on the 3rd of August. I'm not sure who's on that committee, but do we have approval of those notes? Thank you very much. Okay, so before we start on the Town Clerk's open report, may I have your permission, as Dermot has very kindly turned up very promptly for the meeting, may I have your permission, councillors, to move to 8.7 of the report to discuss the Christmas lights switch on, as Dermot would like to take part in that conversation. Is that okay, councillors? Thank you very much. Thank you. So 8.7, I'm just going to it on screen now, is to determine whether the King's Brass and a school choir should be involved in the switch on ceremony this year or not. Now, Dermot, did you want to say something very specifically beforehand, or are you just waiting to listen to our discussion?
More to listen, councillor, really, than anything else. Myself and Sarah had a very brief conversation a few weeks back related to the scaffolding that covering the town hall at the time of the switch on. And I mean, normally we all know what happens, and normally we have the Thursday market as well. Last year wasn't going to be in Bridge Street anyway because of the pandemic. But it's back in Bridge Street this year. And it was trying to, well, the brief conversation we had related to how can we actually have a switch on, as in a ceremony, and, you know, the button is pressed and people can come and watch and so on, the normal thing that happens. And since that, you know, I've had a discussion, some of it being with Matt Coombs from the Christmas Lights, and about just coming up with an idea. So that's really where we're at. And I did express the idea briefly to Sarah, but she had concerns, which I understand the concerns, and she's right. And hence she invited me to here, and I said, yeah, let's talk about it. So
okay,
that's
so
where we're at.
One of the contentious problems contentious being quite a big word, I know, is where to place the brass band and the choir. Do we have an area that we can put them if we would like them there? Have you had that discussion, Sarah and Dermot?
Yes, we have had the discussion. As Dermot said very, very briefly, Dermot's idea, and possibly Councillor Rawcock is going to confirm this potentially, is that the switch on can be held within the market, within Bridge Street. And that was when I started voicing concern, because when you consider how many people come to the switch on, to put all those people plus the stalls, etc., in Bridge Street, I don't think there'd be room for a trumpeter, let alone a brass band, etc. So, I mean, that's really why I thought we're going to be discussing this tonight anyway. Let's get Dermot here and we can thrash this one out.
So what you're saying is that it's sorry, did you want to come in, Victoria, in terms of area for the band and the choir?
Yes, thank you, Chair. As you said, I've had a conversation with Matthew Coombs about this. He was slightly hit sort of panic at the thought that it was going to be the Christmas lights to decide where it goes and what it does, because the Christmas lights committee have never been involved in the planning of the switch on, because that's always been down to the town council. So he was slightly concerned at, having an email saying, where would you like it? Where would you like the lights switched on? The lights will be going on when the town council requests it. Currently, that's down for the usual 4:30 in the afternoon switch on. But obviously, as things change, he said, you may wish to have the mayor turn them on earlier or later, or at 6 o'clock in the morning, as I believe Councillor Jackson did last year, to prevent the crowds, obviously depending on the situation. But when it comes to actually organising a switch on ceremony, that is down, that, as far as he was aware, and as I've always known it, to be down to the town council. So he was slightly concerned that he was being asked, where would you like it to be?
Dermot, is it possible to have, like, when it's the mop, is it possible to have a platform at the top of Bridge Street for the mayor to stand on and turn the lights on?
Yes, in effect, yes, it would be possible. But
there wouldn't be room for a choir and a brass band on that platform.
Well, the idea when I discussed it, and again, that was fairly briefly as well, not just with Sarah, but with Matt Coombs too, which was to bring a stage in, to bring one of the mobile stages in, and then that way, it can, we can make it into a little bit more, because you can have the switch on, but you can have some music and so on going on. You can have the brass band, you could have those, the choir. The idea was really to put the stage across the, if you drive down High Street and go around the island and turn right into Bridge Street by Lloyd's Bank, really to have it, because the road will be closed at that point. So from the doorway of Lloyd's Bank across the highway to the centre of the top of Bridge Street, where the finger post sign is, if anybody's familiar, and the bike rack. You could have the stage across there, facing down towards the market, but we wouldn't have any stalls in the immediate area. So there wouldn't be any stalls on. The first stalls would occur after the pedestrian crossing section that's in the middle of the road there at the top of High Street. I'm not saying it gives loads of room. It doesn't. It probably gives about, let me think, it's 12, probably about 18 to 20 metres of space on both sides of Bridge Street, which, judging by the crowds that you get normally at a switch on, that probably wouldn't be enough. And the highway would be open.
No, it wouldn't be enough, would it?
Yeah.
I mean, we get probably, would you say 500 plus people?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
You reckon? Yeah.
Oh, a lot more.
Yeah.
A lot more.
I mean
that would really have an impact on the market, because it would just go right down Bridge Street, the crowd.
Yeah. No, and that's right. I mean, the alternative idea well, just that I had since the conversation with Sarah, or email rather, was that because you normally close a section of Sheep Street or Sheep Street and High Street anyway, don't you, for the switch on? So we could consider the idea of closing High Street, the temporary closure. You only do it for, I don't know what's the period, 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours or something like that. And you could close it from the junction of Sheep Street, so allowing Sheep Street to remain open to traffic, and up until the junction with the island at the top. So
facing High Street, so the stage would be facing High Street.
Could face down High Street towards the town hall potentially for that period. I was
thinking of the other way round. So have it at the town hall end.
Oh, you could do.
Facing High Street towards Bridge Street.
You could do it that way. Yeah. I think Victoria would just say.
Yeah, Victoria.
Following the conversation I had with the chair of the Christmas lights, Matthew, is we still have to be careful, and encouraging a lot of people into town at a time where we are still being told, and in fact in Parliament today there is a very strong chance that social distancing and mask wearing will be in again. So actually what Matthew suggested that is doable is the mayor has a plinth with the button on top, and he's on the Tree of Light. He's on the roundabout with the Tree of Light. He can be seen because it's slightly higher. And instead of saying, everyone come down, Christmas lights switch on, actually we keep publicity almost to a minimum. Instead, the Christmas market's on, come and get yourself a glass of mulled wine. Dermot, I know from markets before you can play music because I've heard it. All the mayor needs is a remote microphone and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to Stratford-upon-Avon Christmas Thursday Christmas market. It is my honour to switch the lights on. It's very easy. It's very simple. We're not attracting a big crowd. We don't need any special stage set up that stops market stalls.
And we're not having a grotto, are we?
We're not having a grotto, no. And we have the mayor on next to the Tree of Light to press the button. Now, from what I'm hearing already, Magic Alley will be opening their grotto. Their Santa will be out and about anyway, but they're very strict on bookings. You all know how much I love Christmas. You all know how much I love the switch on night. We're not ready to get back to that yet. And I think we keep it low key, no brass band, no choir this year. We have the mayor on the Tree of Light, possibly with the council chaplain to give a thought. Press the button. Lights are on, people enjoy the market. And we keep it very back to basics as we can have.
Okay. Councillor Cleave.
Jenny was, Councillor French was first.
Jenny.
I was going to say more or less the same as Councillor Alcock, just listening to what the Prime Minister was going through this afternoon and then the discussions afterwards. I think it's quite, sadly, it's still quite problematic as to where the numbers are going to be come Christmas. So I do think we need to keep it as simple as possible. But I think it's right to have a little bit of a step towards normality in that the mayor can be there in regalia, actually beginning to bring that bit of Christmas back in. And if there's some possibility for hyping up the sort of music around that time, it would be good. Not sure what, having a static band takes up too much space possibly, but we have had musical entertainment in that kind of tent at the top of Bridge Street before on markets, whether it's possible to have a live singer or a live band in that for 10 minutes, I don't know. But I think the mayor at the Tree of Light, and possibly a band there for a short period of time to play some Christmas, live Christmas carols, might be a little step that we could do. Talking about closing High Street, I mean, if High Street if you're going to go any further, if High Street was closed and Bridge Street and Henley Street, there's probably plenty of room there to absorb the numbers because you've got that much more space. But I'm not sure we want to go down that track just at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cleeve.
Thank you. Yeah, just as Councillor Alcock and Councillor Bradley said, based on today's announcement from the Prime Minister, I do think we need to be cautious about it, because I know from the vaccine point of view, we're going to be going into booster vaccines. I know they've talked about introducing vaccines to the 12 to 15-year-olds in school, but it's still going to be the children that are not vaccinated. So actually to encourage them to congregate together, we need to consider that. So I do agree with that. It would be obviously nice to hear some brass band playing, but has anybody actually talked to the King's Brass yet? Because maybe they could come up with, they have, and what are their thoughts? Because maybe they just come up with some suggestions to where they want to go and what they could potentially do if we're reducing what's available, what we're putting on essentially.
Yeah. Before I bring in Sarah, I mean, from what Jenny said, I don't think we can accommodate a live band around the Tree of Light. It's a great shame. I mean, I just love the idea of a band and choirs and a platform and a stage and razzmatazz. Sarah.
I'm slightly concerned that if we are not going to put on as much of a Christmas switch on event as we possibly can because of what you've discussed today, then I think that it is difficult for the town council to support the Christmas festival, Christmas market festival, because that attracts far greater numbers. Now I know it's 4 days, and it's throughout the town. And because it's throughout the town, it mitigates some of the concerns. And at the moment, we are continuing to plan because we have not been told that it's not possible. There is a possibility, but at the moment, we're moving ahead and we've been working hard to do it. But is it not better to actually close as many roads as possible so that people can still come, but they can be more socially distanced? If you're going to put them all into one small street, then yes, that's very, very worrying. But if you actually make the provision to give the space, to give the social distancing and say, will you please come with masks, etc., rather than, let's say, cancel Christmas again. And I know you're not saying that exactly, but jolly nearly.
So essentially what you're saying, Town Clerk, is that you think that we could perhaps get away with some form of staging looking down High Street. We could accommodate, if people were sensible, enough people there with masks on, and we could perhaps have a band and we could perhaps have a choir. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I am. I mean, limited. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not, not to the extent possibly that we had before. But my concern when you were talking was actually sort of corralling everybody into a very, very small space, and and also I know about COVID. Please believe me, but it's everybody's responsibility, everybody's. And I think, if somebody wants to take their child out, then that's their responsibility. But to have nothing, I honestly think will give the wrong message.
I'm agreeing with you, Town Clerk. Councillor Cleeve.
Yeah, and I assume that's why I said have we spoken to the King's Brass, because they will do their own risk assessments as well as to what's safe for them. So it's if we provide the space and they're happy with it and they've done their risk assessments. But I think that the one difference is between the Christmas light switch on and the Christmas fair, the 4-day Christmas fair, is the number at one time. However, if they do a risk assessment and they're involved in that, maybe the decision making of where they can be, and they're not necessarily right next to because if they're close to the tree, that will invite everyone. But if we put them closer, as you said, towards the town hall, and it's just hearing the music, then the people are going to be away from there. But what we don't want either is that we have all this planned and then we have to cancel it. You've got disappointed young people.
Does it not open up? I mean, if you had some form of staging at the town hall end of the high street facing Bridge Street, does it not open up? It's great because it opens up, people going to the shops, people going to Bell Court, it's opening up to the whole town, and you're literally within spitting distance of the market. I mean, Dermot, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, well, first of all, let me explain to everybody, excuse me, sorry. Let me explain to everybody, I only just came in from work before the Zoom. I haven't had the benefit of listening to the Prime Minister as yet. I've had a briefing from one of my guys at work about it, so I've got an idea what was said. I don't know the detail. I think most of you have probably had a good listen to the detail. But my understanding is that, yes, winter's coming, we may hit problems, and they've got choices that they're looking at, and they've selected number one sort of thing, and then number two gets a little bit worse, but they're hoping not to get there, and so on and so forth. I think the reality is that after, we've all lived through COVID in different ways up to this point. And I don't believe at this stage, I also don't believe that the government particularly want us to not plan for things to happen. Yes, we've all got to be aware that they may get pulled at the end of the day. However, I think that if that happens, there's not many people out there that don't understand that. If we get to November and the government said, sorry, things are getting really bad now, we're introducing social distancing, mask wearing, or beyond, let's hope not, but, lockdowns or semi-lockdowns or whatever the case may be, then we've got to live with that. We've got to go, okay, we've planned this. That can't happen. We've done this before. We've planned stuff. We planned a Victorian market last year for Stratford-upon-Avon, and it wasn't able to happen. But myself and Sarah and others of the team, we had to sort of keep planning that almost up to the end, because in case it was going to be able to go ahead. It wasn't. It was sad. It was a shame, but I don't think anybody turned around to anybody in Stratford and said, "Oh, that's terrible that you didn't do that. You should have gone ahead with that." Everybody understood it was too risky to do it at that stage. My view is that you still plan. I agree with the space, and obviously, Sarah started that by raising concerns, and she was absolutely right to do so. Now it's even more concerns because of COVID and what might be coming again. I'd go with. Personally, I would consider for yourselves to consider a high street closure, certainly from the afternoon, from early afternoon maybe. Like Stratford's just lived through months of road closures in the high street on a daily basis, and they've been, by all accounts, very successful. So you could plan that day to have that road closure in place. The stage could be placed wherever, whatever we've said, but back to the town hall, looking up the high street towards Bridge Street Island. For example, you've got the frontage of Debenhams, the old Debenhams store that's still empty. I'm no doubt that Rich Jones at Belcourt would agree to the brass band being situated in the old doorway there. So that can be played at any time and acquired as well at different times. So during that afternoon and evening, you've got activities taking place, but there's lots and lots of room because you've got the whole high street empty. There's no vehicles in there. What you have to consider, and just going back to the idea of Kevin switching on by the island, on the Bridge Street Island, that would need to be closed to traffic for him to be able to do that, because the crowds are going to gather around where he is, and even if it's not pushed, if it's not advertised, if it's not promoted, once you get to a certain level, social media does its own job, and people start talking about it. So you will get numbers there of sufficient number to be a concern. So you would need to close High Street. Bridge Street would already be closed for the market, and half the island at least would need to be closed. That is doable in Stratford. It's been done before for the Foods Festival, where the traffic coming down Wood Street to the island can come onto the island on one side only and exit via Union Street. Same with Henley Street traffic coming down. So if that can be done, it can be done safely. And we can accommodate that because we've got HVM blocks and so on that make it safe. And then the lights could be switched on by the Tree of Life. That's centerpiece to the road closures that's in place, High Street and Bridge Street. You could then have an event. You've got your music right down the end of High Street by the Town Hall, possibly some others by Debenhams Store, and so on, and then the markets on the other side. Lots of room, lots of things. Okay. If mask wearing is in place at that time, well, that's not a problem. Everyone will just wear their masks. Social distancing can be restored. We've had markets with social distancing already during the pandemic, and so on. That's my view. Sorry.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad you have that view because I'm getting excited. Town Clerk.
The other thing I think we must remember is that when we have switch on at the Town Hall, we're also attracting loads and loads and loads of people who are coming to see Father Christmas. And that's not going to happen. So the crowd will be able to dissipate much quicker than, we're here and we're staying for the duration.
Absolutely. Councillor Mackenzie.
Yeah, I think I'd go back to Victoria's point earlier. We've got the worst cases in Europe, and I think the government has very much downplayed everything and has people, I've been out and about recently, I've been to London, and most people aren't wearing masks anymore. So I'm just, all I want to say is, yes, I do think we should have something. It would be great if Kevin could switch on the light. I'm not sure about choirs and confined spaces. I think as a town council, we are responsible. We have a responsibility for our people, and so we have to make sure that there is plenty of space. People can come along, but they can socially distance. So I think that's very, very important that we make sure we close off roads and make sure that people have the room to space out if we're holding this.
And I agree with that, but I also, before I bring Councillor Fradgley in, I think it's really important that we plan for something that is one can cancel at the last minute. And if Dermot is happy with that in terms of putting some kind of staging up, and the band will understand, the choir will understand, the mayor will understand that he won't be able to maybe stand on the staging at the top of the high street. He may have to stand by the Christmas tree. It's not the end of the world. We can do smaller, but wouldn't it be nice to think bigger? Councillor Fradgley.
As I was suggesting before, I think if you've got High Street in play with a stage down towards the Town Hall, that opens up the street then for all the cafes to actually come out as they've actually done during lockdown, which I think has been very, very, very good for them. And I think they'd actually appreciate that. I'm sure Kevin will actually say that. You've also got Bell Court, which is a place where people will actually be flowing around. You've got Henley Street, where people will be flowing, and you've got Bridge Street. So I think you've got a lot of space there. I think a couple of bits of street entertainment in terms of a band and a small choir won't actually attract the crowds that we do at the town hall for Father Christmas, but would actually just give a bit of a festive atmosphere, providing we're actually allowed to do that at that time. We could also promote, as part of our promotion, we'd like people to wear a festive mask, please. Mm-hmm. We can all wear Christmas trees and Father Christmases around our face rather than just the old sort of sanitized looking things. So that could be a bit of fun, masks at Christmas.
I think Councillor Fradgley, any staging would have to be from the town hall looking towards Bridge Street.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You said earlier from Bridge Street looking towards the town hall.
No. But what I just said was, if it's towards the town hall, it actually opens up more space that includes both, into Bell Court. So you're actually producing quite a large flow space there.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. And welcome back, by the way, Kate. Great to have you here. I've had a number of conversations recently on the subject of the light switch on with Matthew Coombs, a brief discussion with Dermot. For me, obviously, I'm a lot more confident than most people are with the COVID situation at the moment, but I sympathise with people who aren't, and we have to take that into consideration. I think even with the government announcement today, I think we were probably all aware that by the time we got to October, November, we were going to be in a completely different situation than we currently are, even with vaccinations. If you look around at infection rates in certain parts of the country, even at this moment as we speak, then without the vaccination process, they would be probably in some form of restrictions. But I do think that we should be planning for something a little bit more special than some of the discussion has gone, and we can always rein it back if the situation does change for the worse. And I think it would be great to give the people of Stratford-upon-Avon a more normal Christmas this year than they experienced last year. So I think, personally, I think we should plan for as much as we possibly can with a contingency plan in place, just in case the infection rates do create a major issue. But I quite like the idea of extra road closures to allow for that spacing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sarah.
Thank you. May I ask Dermot? I know from the Christmas festival how much the stage provision is. Is there any way that you think you can get perhaps a discount for us?
Well, the reality is I asked both Ian, commonly known as Porky, the compare, for a discounted price. And I asked the stage people for a discounted price. The stage was £500 and they gave me £50 off to £450. And Ian was £375 and came down to £350. So it's £800 jointly for those two. Bear in mind, you don't have to have, well, you wouldn't have to have Ian, for example. I mean, you could save money on that. We would have to have some music in the stage. We could have the music in there playing, but without a compare, it sort of loses the atmosphere because you need somebody talking it up the whole time, really, and creating that atmosphere, which is what he does. He also, that his price includes the music system. He brings, the stage doesn't come with the music system. He comes with the music system. So we still have to hire that elsewhere. But that's where the cost would come in for those two items. Can I just quickly say as well, because as Sarah knows, and the town council and the district council and LSD are still currently planning, Victorian market, a very large 7 streets Victorian market for the town, and we're talking about it. We're talking about it on social media and all of that, still. And there's a lot and I mean a lot of interest in it. So we are prepared at any time. I mean, in the very first Victorian market in 2017, when we had a 3-day, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and the Saturday was a beautiful day, as is, it was very cold. It was -4 or something like that. It was sunny and it was absolutely fantastic. And that we, myself and Sarah and a number of other people, some from the district and so on, spent hours in the town hall sitting, sweating over what we were going to do, because the biggest snowstorm in the country was coming on Saturday night. Yeah. And we got a market that was still on, going absolutely great. The town was packed and everybody was enjoying themselves, and what we're going to do. And it took we made a decision pretty much around 6 o'clock in the evening to cancel it, but we didn't actually announce that till near 9 o'clock, purposely to stop any other issues occurring because of it. And that's what happened. The town was absolutely covered in snow that night. I've got fantastic pictures that still bring back home, comes back to haunt me when I see them on my iPad, of our trucks on Sunday in the day trying to get all the stalls down in the deep snow. It happens, you know. We're not talking whether necessarily this year, well, I hope or not. We're certainly not at the moment anyway. We've still got our fingers crossed for that. But, you know, COVID, things can change. We all know that. And we can suddenly have advice, you know, from the experts, and as a town council, you'll make that decision anyway. But all of us can sensibly say, you know what, this is not going to work this year. This is wrong. You know, we're exposing people, you know, to risk, blah, blah, blah. And you pull it back. However, I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe that if people see everybody's trying to make an effort to have something and have a Christmas this year, a bit sort of like what Kevin was saying, it'd be nice to give the town a Christmas this year that they didn't have last year. But you have to pull it at the last minute. I think everyone will understand that. I can't see anybody. I mean, amazingly, the night of the snow, we never got a complaint. Even the traders didn't complain about that, you know, because it happened. You know, the snow came and they all said, well, we wouldn't be able to work. We wouldn't be able to do it. People wouldn't come, and so on and so forth. And it's going to be the same, in my opinion, with COVID, you know. But
thank you, Dermot. Okay. Jill.
Sorry, just wasn't unmuting there. Yeah, based on what everybody has said, I think Councillor Rolfe, Chairman and Chair, you said the same thing. It's plan big, and we can always rein it in if need be. You know, we followed the government guidelines at the time. If it was happening now, then I wouldn't be ready for Christmas. But if it was happening now, the guidelines are allowing people around. I think as long as everyone, so the brass bands, the choir, they'll all do their own risk assessments at the time. And I think as long as everybody follows whatever those guidelines are, and closer to the time, as we said, if the government have announced social distancing and masks, we ensure that those are being done, then we do it. But I think you're right to have it. You know, we missed a lot last year. Let's try and give back this year. Okay.
I'm going to take one more speaker, Councillor Alcock, and then I'm going to bring this to a close.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think if we can do exactly what you just said about closing High Street, staging we've got the dais already that we use for remembrance, that the mayor could stand on with the button. That is perfectly doable. And music from the brass band. Yes, I think that is doable if we, like say, halfway down High Street, so people can look either towards the Tree of Light or down High Street with the lights. I think that would work. And as you say, you know, people can spread out. So no, you're absolutely right what you said. People have to take responsibility.
Yeah. Councillor Alcock, are you saying that, because in my mind, if we have a stage, we have the mayor on that stage, big time, announcing the turning on of the lights. We don't have the small dais that we have for remembrance. Is that, I mean, if we're going to have a stage, let's use the stage. Is that what people are thinking? Or, I mean, why have the separate dais?
Either way, really, then. Either way, we can make it work. Yes, with a bigger stage, obviously, you could have more people on it, if needed. Again, I was just, you know, conscious of making sure that we can show social distancing as well as encouraging it. So sort of in my head, it was sort of the mayor only, maybe the mayor and the town clerk, and that, keep it small. But yeah, like you say, music. Yes, if the brass band are willing to play and they do their own risk assessment, absolutely, let's do it. And yes.
Town clerk, do we have money in the budget for the staging?
Yes.
And the closure of the high street?
Yes, we do. We don't have to pay for the road closure, as providing we get it. And I just need really clarification then, because if we just got the stage, which I think, Dermot, you said was £500.
They're 450.
450. Okay.
Yeah.
We would then have to get the likes of Dudley Simpson, because we you've got to put amplification in, etc., etc., etc. So in terms of £800, actually, I think that's quite good value, and that we should use that area as the main focus, as you said, for the mayor to actually switch it on, and for any entertainment that we put on there.
Absolutely.
What I think, Dermot, though, that you said earlier, sort of promoting it throughout the day and building it all up, which is very, very necessary, but it wants to, I don't know how to say this really, it wants to be perhaps a little bit more subtle, not like, say, Waterside with a great big theme, because that will attract loads and loads of people. But I think we either have Porky, who we know, and he brings his own equipment and it's all done and dusted, and we work with him, or we have to get a stage, and then we have to get the likes of Dudley to come and give us amplification. What's easiest for you?
For me, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. I mean, like for Kevin to switch the lights on in a closed down high street, for example, down by the island, by the tree. I mean, we can provide them. We have them stored in our yard. They're like plinths. We had them for the statues when the statues were around, in town, the statue festival. So they're about 12 inches high. Some of them are quite big. So they're like a little stage. There's no covering on them. But if the weather was okay, we can pop that anywhere. For example, one of those anywhere for Kevin to stand on, to be raised above the heads of everybody else, so he can be seen. But
we wouldn't be doing that, would we, Dermot? Because we would be doing it on a stage that we've put on the high street.
No, yes, yeah. I mean, I feel the better idea overall. If you, we're in this situation again. We were faced this back in the beginning of the pandemic, because obviously our job has always been get as many people as we can into town. That was always our task. Attract as many, put on markets and events and festivals to bring the people in. Obviously, when the pandemic came, it was like the opposite. We'd like to have something, but try not get anybody to come into town. It's very difficult. So because I think once you start mentioning light switch on event, it goes on Facebook, for example, and goes through social media, people are going to come, aren't they? And they're going to ask, and they're going to dig up what's going on. So if you're having a stage, and Kevin could go on that stage, Matt has a big fake button, with the red button for him to press and all of that. That can be done, but it will attract people. Now, it's whether you decide as a council whether you feel that's the right thing to be doing and encouraging, or, and leaving it to people to decide themselves, to be sensible, or, as the case may be. That's the difficult decision, and I understand it. But I think if you're going to plan it, I would plan it in the right way. I would have the stage. I would have Porky or somebody similar to Porky. It doesn't have to be him, by the way. There's other... You need a toastmaster, basically. You need somebody up there that's got the voice, got the radio voice, who can talk it through and talk to people and create that atmosphere while they're playing Christmas music, recorded Christmas music. But then obviously the band comes along, or the choir comes along, that stops while they perform and so on. And that's your Christmas event, isn't it? You've got a big street there. High Street's very big and wide when it's closed to traffic. There's lots of room. The market's around the corner, so it's not in that. You're not pulling all those people into the marketplace as well. You've got both.
Yeah.
I think for me that's the one that's going to work. But you've got to make the problem we've got is what the Prime Minister was having to say today, really, isn't it? So
okay, so Town Clerk, do we need a proposal here, or is there enough information that you have?
I have enough.
With
I have more than enough to work on. Thank you very much.
Councillors, are we all happy that what we have discussed about going big and reining back if necessary, we're happy to go ahead with? We're happy for High Street to be closed. We're happy for a stage at the Town Hall end of High Street facing Bridge Street. We're happy for a band if they're free. We're happy for a choir if it's free. And we're happy for some razzmatazz if it's allowed, and we rein it in if not. Yeah? Yes. Now you're going to get some Christmas, Councillor Alcock, okay? Yes. Then we all dress up. Thank you so much, Dermot. Thank you so much for your time.
no problem. Yeah,
Sarah,
you're welcome.
Is it possible that we can just go to item 6 before Dermot leaves, just in case there's anything he wants to add, or you want to ask him questions, because it's his market.
Absolutely. So it's the Victorian Christmas market, 9th to the 12th of December. It is to note the report, but is there anything, Dermot, you wish to say? I mean, obviously the same premise stands. You're thinking big, you're thinking huge Victorian Christmas market. If we're all shut down or told not to do this and that, then you'll be reining it back. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, we're members, as yourselves are. The town council are also members, as the district are also, of an organisation called NABMA, the National Association of British Market Authorities. And right through the pandemic, they've been very, very active in when the government issue advice. They've got an open door into a section of government. So when Boris has come on the telly, he's made his announcement, and everyone's trying to unpick it for their own particular industry and how it applies to them. NABMA are immediately through that open door saying, okay, what about markets? How does this apply? What have we got to do? So on and so forth. They've also dealt with it from an indoor market point of view and an outdoor market point of view, because they're two very different things in the pandemic, obviously. And we will know that as this progresses this winter, and as rules change, if they're going to change, they will unpick that. Immediately there's an announcement made. By the next day, they will get it unpicked, exactly what it does and applies to us. And we follow their advice because we found it to be very good and very sound. I'm happy with that.
Wanted to ask the town clerk, because the polar bears are just divine. I mean, I can't tell you how excited I am about these polar bears. But town clerk, did you write the description of those polar bears? Did you write it, or was it written?
No, I wrote it.
I know, and it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful.
I'm just worrying, though. When I was writing, I mean, I have to say that probably the Father Christmas letter is the best thing I have to write all year. If I could just sit and write Father Christmas letters, my life would be fulfilled.
I know.
But I'm slightly concerned about Grandpa Bear because my 10-year-old great nephews, are sort of talking about and studying Operation Mincemeat and World War II strategies and things like that. And I'm thinking, will they really feel a bit insulted to be talking about Grandpa Bear?
Of course they won't. We're all children.
Okay.
We are all children. We'll love it. Won't we? Won't we? Oh, come on. I'm so excited about those polar bears. Yeah. Councillor Alcock, did you want to say something? And then I'll bring in Councillor Fradgy and Councillor Cleave.
Reading through the report, yes, I'm thrilled with the idea of the polar bears, and of course the sleigh. I mean, I'm in love with that idea, 100%. But there was just a very, very vital question I had to raise with you. When can I wear my dress?
Actually, I was thinking that you could wear that dress, Councillor Alcock, because I genuinely think, and I'm sure Dermot will agree with this, that we will have to put a monitor on that sleigh because I think it will be very, very popular. It's free, it's another opportunity to have something. And I think we need to make sure that they get on and off the sleigh safely, and that they don't then sort of approach the reindeer to sit on them, because they're not equipped to be sat on even by a small toddler. Don't you agree, Dermot? I think it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, we could. That's doable. That's not difficult.
Where will they be placed, the polar bears? And can I have them in my front garden when you finish with them? Can I say that out loud? That's so exciting. Where will they be placed?
Well, that's Sarah's decision. I mean, I think the options, there's quite a few options, but probably for us, if it was left to us, we would put them in Wood Street. The reason for that is we would like to have more attractions in Wood Street, because the rest of the streets pretty much look after themselves with the stalls and that. And the people, the least visited street during the Victorian is Wood Street. But because we've also got the reindeer, and we're not necessarily putting the polar bears and the reindeer together, I believe, but that's a decision to be made. But they can be two attractions, in other words. They belong to the town council, so you can decide where you want them in the town.
Ago, we had them opposite the town hall, did we not?
You did. The reindeer.
Reindeer, yeah. If we put them in Wood Street, we're really going to have them properly monitored the whole time, aren't we?
You'd have to.
My concern is it just a little bit too far away from the town hall, but let's discuss that. Councillor Fradgley and then Councillor Cleave.
All I was going to say, you'll get disaffected 13, 14-year-olds, but let them be disaffected. Everybody else will love them.
Madam Chairman, there was one other question that are you happy as a committee with the suggestion of how the mayor and how this competition to name the bears is sort of handled, i.e. that they come to the winners come to the reception, and that the mayor goes down to unveil them so that they won't be seen until they are officially unveiled by the mayor and the children. Yeah. And that Dermot, that grand, great teddy bear stall.
Yes.
I mean, they have some most beautiful things, because I think a bear prize for the children. Yeah. Can you organise that?
Yes, no problem. I'll organise that. Can I just make a quick comment? Because I haven't, obviously, you're all talking about a report. It sounds like a fabulous report that you've put together, Sarah. I haven't seen.
Oh, dear. I asked you to send it to you. Sorry. I think she must have just sent you the agenda.
I'm getting the idea. Maybe Lisa did. Maybe it's my fault. I haven't seen it there as an attachment separately. I'm not sure. But it's I'm getting the idea of what you're talking about, but I just need to see it so I can work with you to to achieve what you want to achieve, but no problem. Anything like that you want to do is fine. And yes, I'll take care of the bear prize.
Before I bring Jill in again, Dermot, can I very briefly ask you, on the Christmas markets, is High Street closed or is it just Bridge Street?
No, on the Christmas markets, the Victorian market for the 4 days, High Street, Bridge Street, Henley Street, Wood Street, Union Street, they're all closed.
They're all closed. So we could have the reindeer at one end of the High Street. You're keen to have them on Wood Street. Let's just let me bring in Jill very briefly. And
Thank you. My question has, Dermot, have you thought where on Wood Street? Because I do have concerns, but where on Wood Street you would like to see them positioned?
Yeah. First of all, let me explain. The only reason I'm putting forward Wood Street is because obviously our job is to try and get the flow to go all around the town. By the way, when I mentioned all the streets, I didn't mention Waterside. Waterside is also closed to traffic as well during that festival. Is to get the people to move everywhere, and they tend to move everywhere quite evenly, including Waterside. It's just Wood Street for some reason is gets the thinnest amount. So the place that we we thought about was up, not opposite the side of that West Bank. In other words, just before you would enter the Rother Street Market. The street's very wide at that point. And because it's the widest point of the street, you've got bus stop and stuff there, and just to have it in that area there. So I can't think of the name of the shops that are currently there, but the block of shops that runs from Rother Street Market, down the street towards Bridge Street, not on the NatWest side, on the other side, backing onto those shops.
Might they not get a little bit lost there? Let me bring in Councillor Fradgley.
Could I just finish? Sorry, because that was a question response. Yeah, so my concern being that far is their safety. Obviously, we've had a few acts of vandalism over the last week in several displays within town. That's within the shop. So having things outside, I think potentially closer to the town hall might be better. I understand, Dermot, what you're saying about getting people to move around. But my concern is also for the unveiling, we want it to be in a safe space, and it would be nicer to have it close to the town hall when the unveiling is happening. But that's, that's my concern. Could I also make one further point? As this is being recorded and maybe watched by some children in certain dates, the stories you write are on behalf of Father Christmas. Obviously, he has some input, does he not, Town Clerk?
Well, of course. I mean, they're actually coming from him, but it's like a town council. I have to brief him, and then he takes those ideas and writes them himself. Yes,
of course he does. I just wanted to ensure that was clarified. Thank you. And
certainly answers all the letters that he is sent, providing, of course, people put an address there. He receives so many letters without an address to send a response, and he gets very, very upset about it, I can assure you.
He does, but I can also say he does an incredible job, and I think he should be very highly commended.
Yeah.
Please note that, minute that. I used to do a lot of the arrangement of entertainments around the town on birthday years and years and years ago, and it's very sad to say, but Rother Street was very, very, very difficult to get people into. And that top end of Wood Street is really hard to work. I think it's very sad for the businesses there that we can't actually do anything. So it would be quite nice to try something there to actually pull people down. But I think that's a consideration. It's always been a very, very difficult place to get people up to. It doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't have atmosphere. However, there are cafes and stuff around there now, and if they could be persuaded, to get the lights out and the tables out, it could help. But it is a difficult area.
Dermot, what about the Dust Bowl?
Look, the Dust Bowl is fine. Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, the answer is yes, it can go on the Dust Bowl. Well, we've got two, haven't we? We're probably potentially talking two. Polar bears is one set, and then the reindeer and the sleigh is another set. So they can be parted. And look, as I said, they're owned by the town council, so it's your decision. You tell me where you want to go in the town, and I'll make sure they can go there. Also, we look after them. Sarah knows this, and every night, the display over the last couple of years, it was dismantled and put into a trailer, one of our big trailers, and locked away. So there's no question of leaving anything out at night. We've got security overnight, but there's still no question of leaving anything out. The other thing is that that sort of event, it just attracts families essentially, and we just don't get problems. We don't get trouble there. But also, it's always so busy that around any of the displays or any of the stalls, even the displays, there's always people. There's always plenty of people. So you just don't get the problem. But there is a full-time security team of about 16, 18 members that are around, including some plainclothes ones. So, that they're circulating all the time. It's not an unsafe environment. It's not your normal town centre, on a Friday or Saturday evening, and the police are busy or not around. It's actually, it's a very well controlled environment and secure. But that's our experience to date.
So the positioning of the reindeer, and I think you're right. I think we keep them separate in my opinion, I think it will work separate. There's two nice attractions, but the positioning of the reindeer and the polar bears, can we leave it till as late as the next meeting on the 2nd of November to decide, Sarah, and perhaps give it some further thought? Because I'm not sure myself. I'm not sure about Wood Street. I agree with Councillor Fradgley. It's a really difficult one. You put something up there and nobody knows they're there. That's a shame. Equally, I mean, certainly 2 years ago when I was mayor, I mean, the positioning opposite the town hall was just fantastic. I mean, it just had people there the whole time. So I think we really need to think about this. I like the idea of the Dust Bowl. It's people walking over the bridge and seeing them, people seeing them from the top of Bridge Street, people seeing them from Waterside. But we need to give it some thought, I think. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Mr. Mayor, do you have any? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Thank you, Chair. Personally, for me, I think the Wood Street side of the equation would be an area. I understand trying to utilise them to create that flow of footfall, but I think they would be better set more centrally located. I mean, obviously the situation with the space opposite Town Hall. Obviously, it currently has scaffolding on it, very similar to our building, but that licence for that scaffolding expires on the 5th of October for that particular site. So it could be the fact that land could be available for us to put them there. And equally,
put one set there.
One set there, yeah. And then one set on. I mean, I think last time, I think the reindeer were located on Waterside, but obviously, I don't think we've got anything in that. Do we have anything in that region this year, Dermot, or not?
Yeah, they were located on Waterside on the Thursday market. Don't forget the Thursday market, because of COVID, couldn't go into Bridge Street because of the widened temporary pedestrian ways. So they were on that. There was Thursday evening. I mean, a couple of options. You've got Waterside will be full of stalls. A couple of options is we spoke earlier of the doorway of the old Debenham store, which has got the natural canopy that sticks out. It's not, and so on. Again, asking Rich Jones the question, I'm sure he would be helpful and cooperate.
I mean, that potentially would be a good location.
Yes, but there'll be stalls along there, won't there? So it'll be very cramped.
No, because the stalls are in the street. It won't be. It isn't actually cramped there at all, and we have to have some space for later in the evening when the vans have to come in to load up and stuff like that. And we tend to use over that side of the street, but the stalls actually are based on the other side of the street. So it would, but you could think about that doorway. You could actually create something really nice, say, for the polar bears.
In particular, if Escape Arts are creating a great
scene
either side of it,
really good idea.
It could be perfect.
Yeah, could be perfect. Yeah, and again, we can come in with the trailer, remove the valuable aspect, the bears themselves,
Well, I presume we could even get access into that door to actually put them inside for the evening.
Probably,
I'm sure Rich Jones would accommodate that for us.
Perfect.
I'm sure he would.
So if we can give it some thought, I think that's a brilliant idea. Debenham's excellent idea, but. And we don't want them too far apart, our reindeer and our polar bears.
No.
But if we give it some thought, I think it's a great idea, Debenhams. And perhaps we ought to speak to Escape Art and see if they can come up with something really glitzy and Christmassy and snowy. And particularly if we have the polar bears there, we want lots of snow. Oh, now. Oh, now.
How about a snow machine off the top of Debenham's building?
We have a snow machine, don't we?
Yeah.
Sarah.
Why can't we? Well, there is one reason why we can't, but I'm just thinking out loud. Why can't we actually have it in the window of Debenhams? And then we could have the snow machine. because it would just be falling down, wouldn't it? The only thing is you would then not hear Mama Bear. That's the trouble.
Oh no, we want to hear Mama Bear.
Also, I think once you put glass there, Sarah, once it's a shop window, it's not quite the same. It takes away. Yeah, it's more magical and lifelike for the children to be able to get very close, not touch them, but get. So they love the reindeer.
Talk snow. I mean, can we get snow in anywhere?
The backdrop, yes. As in my report, we've got enough money. I'm determined to get every penny out of this award. We've got just enough money to buy a backdrop. So it's what backdrop do you want? I'll send you some and you can choose.
Well, let's have snow. If we're going to have polar bears, they live in snow, don't they? And ice. Let's have snow.
In her rocking chair.
Oh, how lovely.
Does she live in snow in her rocking chair? I don't know. She might be living in a cave in her rocking chair.
Can we not have artistic license here?
Yes, you can do what you like.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I think we can look at detail on the second, and I think we look at positioning, final positioning, because obviously we've got to let Dermot know, because you'll be the ones that are moving them from place to place and switching them on.
Yeah, but there's no rush though.
No,
no
there
rush,
is no rush.
It's fine. Yeah.
Are we all happy? Is there anything further we want to discuss about the Victorian Christmas market? No? Okay. Dermot, if you wish to go, and you've obviously had a long, hard day, and you've come straight to this meeting, and thank you very much for coming.
No problem. No problem. You're very welcome, as
and we
always.
will see you again
Thanks,
very
Dermot.
soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. So let's go to quickly to the Town Clerk's report, item 8.1, which is plant a tree for the Platinum Jubilee. I don't know where we take it from here, Town Clerk. Is it, do we have to make a decision about whether we are going to, as a council, plant a tree? Are we going to plant a tree? Councillor Fradgley, are you're in charge of this, are you? Hopefully.
Not at all.
Oh,
not at all. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. I just wanted to say that Kate and I, we did a walk around town today with the County Council looking at pavements. And when we came to Henley Street, Scott Tompkins looked down there and said, oh, we need more trees there. And I said, we are thinking about trees in boxes. And that wasn't a long conversation, but it was he thought that was a good idea. That came from county, and he should have been here tonight to talk to us about the sort of Queen's tree. Perhaps that's a place to think about putting a Queen's tree, because we've got one going on the Corn Market. Now, whether we actually put that as a Queen's tree with a plaque on and put another tree somewhere else in the town, because we were thinking about a tree a year. They're jolly expensive, but that was a kind of idea that we were working on.
Jenny, were you thinking of a tree in a pot rather than in the ground?
I'm not sure that we could get the district and county to agree to digging up a bit of Henley Street. I mean, it'd be great if we could, because there are trees planted in the ground there. It might be difficult to do it afterwards, because I think those trees probably have been put into some sort of root container underneath the surface, and you couldn't dig up that much. Worth exploring, but probably difficult to do. But a tree in a pot wouldn't be so difficult, but expensive.
Yeah. Councillor Cleave.
I was just thinking, a tree in a pot for the Queen's Jubilee doesn't seem as permanent as it could be. I know they are, but again, with all that's going on, if something happened to it, it wouldn't look good. So maybe for the Queen's Jubilee one, it should be in a more permanent location in the ground. And as you said, Councillor Fradgley, if we can't get it in, it would be nice, because that's something that should have been on the plans in the first place. But if we could get somewhere, a location that is a permanent location for one, I think, personally, I would think that would be better. For this particular one, we still go ahead with all the potted trees that are the plans, but this particular one.
Yes,
Could
but
I
it's
just
finding a location if we want to put it in the ground, isn't it?
There used to be a tree in the ground. It was a rowan ash on the corn market. It died. I mean, it was a very, very tall, thin tree. It died some years ago and was taken up. And then that little grave thing was put there, a kind of meaningless bit of something. I don't know whether the district would agree to a tree that didn't have massive root extensions. I mean, there might be a species of tree that could be planted there. I don't know.
It would be nice if it was as near to the town hall as possible if the town council are providing the Jubilee tree. Would it not? Any thoughts, councillors? I mean, we are going to have a tree, yes? So again, it's finding a location, isn't it? That's quite central and is pertinent. I mean, obviously there's the Remembrance Gardens, which is not appropriate, I don't think. Just trying to think where else. Any thoughts? Jenny, followed by Victoria.
Problem is, we don't actually hold any land ownership in the town centre. So whatever we actually want to do has to be in agreement with either county or with district. I do think it's a possible goer on the corn market if the district were interested. We are intended to put a tree in a pot there. We do have permission to reconfigure that bit of stonework. Whether we could have permission to take up more of that paving there and actually dig out and put in a root container in the grounds that would actually contain the roots a little and plant a tree there. How expensive that would be, I don't know, but that's a possibility. It's close to us and it could be a tree in the ground if we got the right species and the right structures for it to be there, and then we could put our tree in a box somewhere else.
Councillor Alcott.
Difficult.
Thank you, Chair. I'd love the idea of a tree on Henley Street, no doubt about it. I agree, you know, it is in need of that. But I can also already read the Facebook post, oh, look at the council. They spend all this money laying down Henley Street and 10 minutes later they're digging it up again. And I you know, I feel like maybe that might not be the best place to do it. We have got the Tranquility Garden. It's separate from the churchyard. It is where people go at a quiet place. And if Tony could possibly find a corner somewhere, I think a tree in Tranquility Garden would actually be a nice addition to it. But that might need some looking at. I don't have a problem with tree in pots. I don't. I never have done. I actually think that they make a very nice addition when you live in a very in a built-up area, which Stratford-upon-Avon town is. And actually, with tree and pots, it could be possible that we could have more than one, and we could have them on the corn market as suggested. We could also have them on Henley Street as well. And in fact, it might be very nice to get 3 different age trees, one going from on Henley Street by the birthplace to the town hall down to the Holy Trinity, and show the cradle to the grave with trees that, you know, for planting the trees. So you know, trees in pots, I haven't got a problem with them.
Okay,
they're trees.
My concern is obviously vandalism. It's a lot easier to vandalise a tree in a pot. I understand what you're saying, Councillor Alcock, and it's right. And I think that's the plan anyway, is to get those trees in pots. And I think the cradle to the grave idea is really good. But I think for this specific one, we want to make sure that it lasts and that it's central and that we can see it. What about with the whole redevelopment? Of course, it wouldn't be in time, but with the whole redevelopment of plans of Bridge Street, is there anything that can be done there? Timing, I don't know if that would.
May I just respond? Madam Chairman, to that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
I have a meeting on Thursday morning, first thing, 9 o'clock, with PJA. So and there is landscaping within the plan. So I can bring that up and perhaps specifically to see where exactly what their ideas are for the trees and the landscaping in Bridge Street.
Yeah, I think that would actually be a very nice.
Yeah,
I do think, and it would be a permanent central location.
Yeah, Councillor Mackenzie.
Yes, I was wondering about. It's the same area you're talking about, where Barclays is, where we put the Christmas tree, you know, with the lights in the roundabout.
Yeah,
is that a silly idea? I mean, I often wonder why there isn't a real tree there. Could we put a Christmas tree, you know, one with which starts quite far up, if you know what I mean, so that it doesn't stop the visibility of cars going around the roundabout. A real tree every year we can actually decorate.
Yeah, so again, it's a very good idea. Where do we go from here, councillors? Are we going to? Sorry, Councillor Alcock, did you want to speak again? Yeah, please do.
Yes, please. Sorry, just to say about the tree on Barclays Island. That is, I know people say about having a real Christmas tree, but the tree of light on that island is very precious to a lot of people in this town, because they purchase the bulbs in memory of loved ones, usually children that have died very young or were stillborn. So in conjunction with the hospice, that is why the tree of light is what it is. It is done for people to remember loved
They could
ones.
still put those on a real tree, couldn't they?
But with decorating a real tree is you have to have particular lights that don't damage the tree, and it's also where do you put the electricity supply. If a tree is growing there, you can't sink it into the ground. It is something that's come up at Christmas lights on various occasions.
Okay, but I'm going to try and bring this to a close, because it's already 17 minutes past 7. So basically, we are keen on the idea of having a tree, planting a tree for the Queen's Jubilee. The town clerk will look at the possibility of having something in the Bridge Street landscaping, which I think is a very good idea. Perhaps we ought to look at, I think probably putting it on the call market is going to work out incredibly expensive, but I like the idea. Let's look at that. I have concerns about it going on the Barclays Bank Island. The land doesn't belong to us anyway. It's can we have some time, do we, town clerk, to look into this? But
yes, we do. We have quite a lot of time. As you can see, that these arrangements that Charles has put from tree planting could begin from October through to the end of the Jubilee year in 2022. So there is masses of time. But I will take up the corn market idea with Craig Bourne, and certainly I will speak to PJA and Warwickshire County Council on Thursday morning about Bridge Street.
Thank you. I'd like to move on now to 8.2, which is the Remembrance Sunday, to note the revised arrangements. I'm sure you've all read your details. Do any of you have any comments? Councillor Alcock.
Thank you, Chair. Just very, very quickly, Matthew Coons of the Christmas Light said, would the town council like the poppies? Obviously, the poppies that go on the side of the town hall have always proved very popular. There's a possibility of putting them on an island for remembrance. They can stand, they don't have to be attached to a building. And if that's something you may like, can somebody get in contact with him and and say, yes, please, that, you know, we have the poppies. They were bought for the town council. So just because we haven't technically got a building at the moment,
no,
you know, there are the places that they could go. So if I look at my email a bit,
can I leave that?
They can go at ground level, a central roundabout, either illuminated or not, but they look good in the daylight as much as they do at night as well. So you just need somebody to contact him.
Well, as we're all going to be congregating opposite the district council offices, perhaps the district council might like some poppies around the building that everyone can see. It's a thought. I don't think they can go in the Garden of Remembrance. It's too tacky. I mean, not that they're tacky, but you can't combine the two. But I think the district council building, you know, why not? Is that something that we can ask if it's possible? Yeah. Is that Jill? You want a quick word?
Yeah, I was just going to say, or maybe the Playhouse or the Town Trust building.
Yep.
That could be another place. Yep. And that might bring people up that end of the street, which they were talking about.
Perfect. Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much. No other questions on that item, so let's move on to SIL projects. It is again a report for noting. Does anyone have anything to say about that? Everybody is happy about money being accumulated into a nice big pot, a huge, gigantic pot. Sorry, the cynicism, really. Okay, Councillor Fradgley.
I just wanted to mention there that we will, as I've done my back end, I might just, sorry. As town councillors, we will be approached by residents for particular projects, like I've been approached about the Scout Hut. I've actually looked into that, and in fact, they're not nearly ready to put a plan forward yet for SIL. But I do think we need to have something on the table that we can actually talk to residents about how their particular community projects would actually find a place somewhere, perhaps with the district or with us. But I do think we need to actually take that on board. We can't just ignore it.
No, I would agree with that. Okay, so are you happy to move on to item 4, which is the 600th anniversary tree at the Guild Chapel? I think this planter, it seems to have been in every meeting for the last goodness knows how long. Have you all seen the proposed planter? And are you happy with that? It looks okay to me. Are we all happy with that? So it's basically to note the report and approve the purchase of the plant. Oh, I do apologise, Town Clerk.
I didn't write this report. The Civic Secretary did, and when I read it, the first thing I thought was, where is this money? Have we still got this money? And in what budget head is it coming under? So I asked the responsible financial officer, and there isn't a pot of money of £1,064.99 for the purchase of this planter. However, the Heritage Open Day account, budget head, if you like, has got £2,000 in it. And as we're not doing it this year, it can come out of there, if you agree.
Okay, councillors, do we agree that we go ahead and Councillor Fradgley? Oh, sorry, you're saying agree. So do we agree that we go ahead and purchase the planter? Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item 5, which is the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. An update regarding the task and finish group for the Platinum Jubilee. Yes, I do want to go on to that committee. And I think we need to get a group together as soon as possible, because before we blink, it'll be on us. Next June is not that far away. Councillor Alcock.
Yes, I was quite disappointed with the lack of uptake, actually, because I thought it'd be quite a popular one, which is why I didn't originally put my name forward for it. Because I've sat on a lot of task and finish groups and organised an awful lot of events for the town council over the past 12 years. So actually I thought I'd step back and let somebody else take it up. But yes, I'm happy to go on to the committee, the task and finish group for the Platinum Jubilee. And another offer from Matthew Coombs for the Christmas lights is they still have all the crowns that were put on top of the posts that go down that were used for the Golden Jubilee that light up. And again, his offer is, would you like them? I mean, in his head, and I must admit, when he said this to me, my heart just sang. He thought the crowns on top of the post with the bunting that we've got for the red, white, and blue in between. I mean, how that just sounds amazing. He says the crowns do need a bit of touching up where they've been cracked or the paint's peeled off, but he's got apprentices in the at the RSC who are willing to do the work. So it's not. No, I think it's a win-win situation for the town for the town council. To be honest, it's great decorations that other towns might not have.
Absolutely. I think we need to get the group together to sit round and discuss the what we're going to do next June. Okay. I don't think we need to go any further with discussing ideas. I think let's get the group together and discuss. Is that okay? Item 6 we have discussed already, and indeed item 7. And I think that leads me on to agenda item 9, which is to discuss a proposed forthcoming event to celebrations of the mayoralty and determine a date. Now, this is all about, mayor's dinners, mayor's, celebrating myself, Tony, Kevin. We need to determine a date. Now, in your mind, Town Clerk, was it always going to be this year, this side of Christmas?
Yes, it certainly was. But then the pandemic resurfaced, really. So it cut the time span down significantly. One former member of the council, well-respected former member of the council, said to me recently, have we not moved on? It's unfortunate, but, we have moved on. Do you think it's necessary to hold such an event? I always thought it was, and I still think it is, because there is a lot of unfinished business in terms of awards, in terms of acknowledgement and thanks to charities and the incumbent themselves. So I with respect, Mr. Mayor, I'm not so worried about you because you're in and you can have an event next year. But I think to actually celebrate the closure of Mayor Rolfe's incumbency and then the whole of Councillor Jackson's does need some sort of recognition. Now, whether it's a dinner, I wasn't necessarily thinking that we would go to that length, but I was certainly thinking a bit like councillors that can remember what we did for was it the Java prisoner of war? And we had this lovely almost ceremony where we celebrated them, and it was very, very moving. I don't think you were a councillor then on the town council, Councillor Rolfe, but I think you came to it.
I came to it, yes I did.
And that in a way was the sort of thing that I had in mind, that all the council would come in, that you would be able to invite your family, your guests that weren't there for you. And then have a ceremony as we have had in the past. There's also members of staff that need recognition as well, long service awards, etc. So there is still a lot that we can pack into this.
And volunteer awards.
Exactly.
And
then just have a reception afterwards, rather than a dinner. We'll get together and have a drink and toast former mayors.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Well, and Councillor Fraggy does as well. Let's look at a date. Is a Friday a good day for doing it? Probably not, because that's probably when the town hall is mostly booked out. Oh no, it's not booked out because it's closed up.
Exactly. And at the moment, I mean, it gets dark early now, doesn't it? So the town hall will just close the curtains, and it's very nice inside because it's been decorated. So in that respect, it's not going to cause an
19th
issue.
of November is a Friday.
Sorry, Madam Chairman, what day did you just say?
I said 19th of November. Does that clash with anything? Councillor Cleave?
Oh, probably.
It's International Men's Day, just so you know, comes up. Yeah, I was just going to say, remind me, when does the scaffolding come down?
Hopefully it's down by the 5th of December.
Just thinking,
we can't have it on the 26th because that's, oh no, it's after Christmas lights switch on. I mean, we could have it on the 26th of November. All the Christmas lights will be up. It'll be nice and festive.
When's the Victorian Christmas market again?
That's December.
December one. It would be nice after the Christmas lights are on.
Yeah.
Or potentially if you,
the Christmas lights on.
Or potentially move it to January if you want, and then it's something to look forward to after Christmas. I'm just thinking about, again, if the government do stop bringing in restrictions and numbers. Again, it's about planning. You want to plan big, but you don't want to be disappointed either.
Councillor.
The bits I was getting today, extra restrictions coming in would actually be after Christmas. He won't shut down the hospitality departments again before Christmas. It would be in January, and probably to coincide with the return to schools is what I was genuinely getting from listening to the debate earlier. I think the day after the Christmas lights switch on is
26th of November.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that date. I think it
is that Mr. Mayor, what's your mayoral diary like?
I am perfectly okay on that date, Chair. Not an issue.
Okay, so Town Clerk, is that okay for you?
I'll have to check the diary of obviously of the town hall, but if I start working up a programme, I don't think you have another meeting, do you, before?
Yes, 2nd of November we do. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start working on that this week then with a programme, and we'll be able to bring it to you on the 2nd of November.
Yes, now the 2nd of November will be quite late in terms of us asking family and friends. So as long as people like past Mayor Tony knows that he and I know for my volunteer, he knows for his volunteer, as long as we know verbally in advance. I mean, detail can be discussed on the 2nd, but as long as we know verbally in advance. Councillor Alcock.
Thank you. Is this an event that will come out of the one-off event budget?
Yeah, there's enough budget for receptions because we just hadn't had any. But
that's just what I wanted just to confirm, because you know that's what I do. So
I think it will be expected that the town council are there.
Yes. Oh yes. And I think once again we'll need a rehearsal because it wants to be slick.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'm imagining, you know, canapes and wine and the odd speech. I'll guarantee to keep my speech under 55 minutes. Anyway, no, seriously, that date suits myself. We need to talk to Councillor Jackson, because there is no point in going ahead unless Councillor Jackson is available on that date. That's okay. And then we'll start looking at, I'm quite happy to sit with you, Town Clerk, and look at, you know, how we move that forward, what we do on the...
Well, leave me to get on with it. Then when I've got something that's, you know, tangible, I'll bring it back to you.
Okay, thank you. Right, councillors, I think we've come to the end. Unless anybody wants to say anything else on that last item, I think we've come to the end. The next meeting is the 2nd of November, and it will be at the Town Hall. Thank you very much. It's 7:36, a good hour and a half's worth of hard work, councillors. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening, rest of your evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.